radiocarbon dating is one of those things that has convinced many people the Bible can't be true when it talks about the age of creation. Now, this is how radiocarbon dating works. Our bodies are made of carbon. The carbon comes from CO2 in the atmosphere, and in the atmosphere, the sun's radiation occasionally changes a normal carbon, which has an atomic weight of 12, to 14, which is unstable. So pretty much everything that's alive takes carbon, both carbon-14 and carbon-12, and it builds their very cellular structure. Now, when something dies, the carbon-14 starts to disappear, and it takes about 5,000 years, a little bit more than that, but let's say 5,000 years for half of it to disappear. It's called the half-life. So if a scientist finds like an old relic, just has to take a tiny little bit, put it in a mass spectrometer, and he can measure how much carbon-14 is left. And depending on how much left, he concludes how long ago it died, because once you die, you're not taking in new carbon. Let's pretend these peppermint patties are the amount of carbon-14 something had when it was alive. Well, in 5,000 years after it died, half of them would be gone. They would just disappear. Now, in another 5,000 years, another half would disappear. In a third 5,000 years, another half would disappear. And then 4 5,000 year periods, another half would disappear. So if a scientist finds something that's dead, and it measures it, and it finds out, aha, there's this much carbon-14 left, he will say, based on the amount that's in things today, you would have to divide it in half 4 times to reach this level, this amount that's left. 4 times 5,000 would be 20,000 years. It will be stated as a scientific fact, this thing lived 20,000 years ago. But the scientist didn't measure time, he just measured the amount of a chemical. There are very compelling reasons for believing that before the flood, the Earth's magnetic field would have been much stronger. Rapid reversals during the flood would have decreased the strength, meaning it was much stronger before the flood. Much more vegetation before the flood, meaning the carbon-14 that's being created is spread around through more cells and structures. So the concentration of carbon-14 starting out wouldn't have been an entire jar full. It may have been 1/10 that amount. Say only 2 of those peppermint patties, not the whole jar full. Then 5,000 years pass, half of it disappears and you're down to 1. So it wasn't 20,000 years ago when the things lived, only 5,000 years ago. You see, starting assumptions determine your conclusions about how much time has passed. Assuming things have always been the same way out into the past leads you to the wrong conclusions about how old things are. So carbon-14 is actually a very compelling test for showing us things aren't as old as we're told if you start with the right assumptions.